Hello, I'm Not Movie Recaps, and this is the movie Abigail. 6 bandits kidnap a girl, but then it turns out that she is a real monster. Late at night, Abigail is practicing ballet in an empty theater. Meanwhile, a group of criminals is preparing for a kidnapping. A hacker disables all the surveillance cameras in Abigail's house, while a sniper climbs onto the roof. When Abigail leaves the theater, her driver picks her up, unaware that the criminals have placed a tracker under the car. As soon as the car starts moving, the kidnappers follow. The hacker opens the doors of Abigail's house, and 3 criminals sneak into her bedroom to hide behind the furniture. One of the women realizes they're about to kidnap a child and protests, as she usually doesn't deal with children, but the others tell her to handle it. Soon, Abigail arrives home and sits on the bed, and the criminals use this chance to attack. One guy tries to hold her, but Abigail stabs his hand with a pencil. Another man takes control and covers her mouth, while the first guy tries to hit her, but the woman stops him, not wanting to harm the child. They then administer a sedative to Abigail to put her to sleep. The second half of the team waits outside and warns those inside about the approaching car, while the sniper keeps an eye on the incoming car. The trio quickly puts Abigail in a bag and escapes through the window. The other 2 criminals pick them up just in time, and they drive off without any issues. During the ride, they check Abigail's pulse to ensure she's okay and blindfold her. As they approach a traffic jam, the hacker directs the driver to take another road, and they finally arrive at their destination, an old abandoned mansion outside the city. There, they meet with Lambert, who hired them. After cuffing Abigail to a bed, Lambert reminds the group of the rules. They shouldn't share names or backgrounds, and must avoid any impropriety among themselves. This is a 24-hour job, so they have to babysit Abigail until her wealthy father sends the $50 million ransom. Lambert doesn't tell them who the father is but collects everyone's phones to prevent tracking. Before leaving, Lambert assigns code names to each team member. After that, the team begins enjoying the drinks in the house. Joey refuses to share candy with Dean, who pretends to be smart and tries to guess everyone's background but fails. When Joey mocks him, the others bet money to see if she can do it better, and by reading their body language, clothes, and personalities, she guesses everyone correctly. Frank used to be a detective. Peter is a dim-witted mobster. Hacker Sammy does it for fun. Rickles is a former Marine sniper, and Dean is a sociopathic driver. In response, Frank deduces that Joey is a recovering drug addict. Joey then checks on Abigail, who complains that the blindfold is too tight. Joey covers her face and removes the blindfold, noticing that the handcuffs are Abigail, so she recuffs her hands in front. Since Abigail is crying, Joey explains that they won't hurt her and just want the money. Joey mentions having a son, and in response, Abigail tells her they made a mistake because her father doesn't care about her. When Joey is about to leave, Abigail says she's sorry for what's about to happen to her. Worried, Joey goes back to the group and tells Frank that Abigail's father might be a dangerous man. Frank thinks Abigail is just trying to make Joey feel bad, but he checks on the child when everyone is distracted. He's shocked to see her without the blindfold and immediately covers her face, pointing a gun at her until she swears she didn't see him. Frank pressures her until she reveals that her father is Christoph Laser. Panicking, Frank rushes back to the group and announces he's leaving. The others demand an explanation, and Frank explains that the girl is the daughter of Christoph Laser, a very dangerous and powerful crime boss. Joey and Rickles also recognize the name and share Frank's concern. They argue about what to do next and eventually decide to stay to get the money, which they come later use to escape and start a new life far away. They agree to keep an eye on the perimeter and keep all doors closed. Later, Joey checks the house, following a noise that turns out to be just an open window. Fully opening it to stop the noise, she sees an old statue of a father and child. She then encounters Rickles, who tries to flirt with her and fails. He also tells her he doesn't trust the others, and they agree to watch each other's backs. Meanwhile, Sammy finds a room with a TV and suddenly gets scared by a presence behind her, but it's just Dean playing a prank on her. He has the audacity to try flirting with Sammy, who furiously kicks him out. Then Dean finds Peter sleeping and draws a male genitalia on his face. He continues wandering around the house and stumbles into a dark hallway filled with old photographs, among which there is one with a girl who looks very much like Abigail. He then heads to the kitchen in the basement, where the door opens on its own. Confused, He enters the room and is frightened by the rats. When he tries to leave, an unseen presence suddenly grabs his legs and pulls him back. Sammy hears his screams and heads to the basement, where she finds Dean sitting at a table. When she tries to approach him, his head falls off, causing Sammy to scream and then vomit. Soon, the others also reach the basement and agree that Sammy couldn't have done this. It actually reminds them of stories about Laser's hitman named Valdez. Several years ago, 3 top members of Laser's gang were captured by the FBI. The night before the trial, they were being hidden on the top floor of a hotel, guarded by agents at every corner. The next morning, the FBI stormed the place and found their bodies decapitated and disemboweled. The only way in or out of the room was through a door on the 23rd floor. Worried, they decide to check on the girl and find her safe in her room. Rickles is still scared of Valdez and wants to leave, but when he opens the front door, they are surprised to find another set of iron gates. Peter unsuccessfully tries to open them, but the security system triggers, shutting all the windows, trapping the group inside. Joey decides it's a trap, and Rickles runs to check his weapon but finds it missing. Joey rushes to Abigail and asks if she has seen anyone else besides her and Frank, but Abigail swears she hasn't. She also reveals that Frank threatened her, claiming he worked for her father and that his real name is Valdez. After this, Joey meets with Rickles, and they share what they know, concluding that it's pointless. They agree to look for a way out, but when Joey tries to leave the room, she hears a noise. Rickles stands there, and she goes to check on him, only to discover in horror that he's badly wounded. His dead body falls into her arms, and she lays him down before rushing downstairs. Enraged, Joey points a gun at Frank, accusing him of being Valdez and killing Rickles. Frank also draws his gun, claiming Joey is letting Abigail manipulate her. He asks Peter to do something about Abigail, and Peter goes to the room to kill her before he can shoot. Joey arrives and quickly disarms him. Sammy and Frank also arrive, leading to a confrontation. Meanwhile, Abigail easily removes the handcuffs and stands up, using a ballet move to reveal her true nature. She is actually a vampire. Abigail leaps at Peter, about to bite him, but Frank knocks her down. To everyone's shock, Abigail simply sits there as her wound heals on its own. Joey also shoots her, but it becomes clear that bullets do nothing, so they flee and lock the door. The group discusses what to do, realizing that Abigail has been Valdez all along. All doors are equipped with magnetic locks and 2-inch thick shutters, making them unbreakable, and Sammy lacks the equipment to hack them. Everyone is tense, and when Peter asks them to slow down, Frank grabs him by the neck, threatening to shut him up. Eventually, Frank and Joey grab pool cues to make steaks, and Sammy searches the kitchen for garlic. Joey doesn't help because she believes killing Abigail will only anger her father. Once everything is ready, the trio rushes to Abigail's room, but finds it empty. Suddenly, they hear music and head to another room, finding Abigail dancing with Dean's body. At first, she pretends to be a sweet girl, but when Sammy attacks, Abigail leaps at her, sniffing the garlic, which proves ineffective. Frank is knocked aside when he tries to help, but Peter manages to catch her. However, Abigail easily throws him to the ground, snatches the cross from his necklace, and strikes him on the chest, causing him to bleed and confirming that crosses don't work on her. Then Frank tries to stab her from behind, but Abigail quickly disarms him and slashes his leg. Defeated, the trio heads downstairs where Joey helps them treat their wounds. She reminds them that the injection worked when they kidnapped Abigail, and they still have a spare one. They decide to split up, and whoever finds the girl first should inform Joey through the earpiece, so she can surprise her with a syringe. The group begins searching the house, and Sammy ventures into a dirty hallway where she is startled by a bunch of bats. This causes her to fall into a pool, and she screams when she realizes it is filled with rotting bodies. Worse yet, she has to crawl over them to get out. Meanwhile, Abigail surprises Peter, who runs away in fear and locks the door behind him. However, Abigail breaks the door and continues chasing him, moving with ballet-like grace. Peter runs as fast as he can until Frank opens a door and hits him, causing him to fall over the railing. Abigail then chases Frank, pushes him down the stairs, and sits on him. Joey seizes the opportunity to try injecting her, but Abigail swats the syringe away, sending it flying through the locked gates. Sammy grabs Abigail and pulls her away, prompting the child to bite her hand. Abigail then grabs Frank by the leg and starts flying, but Peter suddenly catches up to her, forcing her to drop Frank. Peter restrains Abigail, and Joey manages to retrieve the syringe and quickly injects Abigail with the sedative. The child makes serious threats and calls Joey horrible names before losing consciousness. Sammy freaks out and asks if she will turn because of the bite. Moments later, Abigail wakes up, locked in an elevator. Joey tells her that if she explains how to get out, they will let her go. Instead, Abigail confesses that she planned everything and that Lambert works for her. She even knows all their real names and backstories. Sammy started her career by taking money from her wealthy parents' bank account and eventually went after a big target. Peter worked for a crime family and stole from its members. Frank infiltrated a crime family as a detective and eventually enjoyed the illegal lifestyle. Joey was a former military medic discharged for a drug addiction and left her son with his bad father to become an underground doctor for dubious people. One day, she accidentally killed a gang member while trying to extract a bullet. It turns out that everyone here has wronged Laser or his gang in some way, and Joey says Abigail kills her father's enemies only to make him love her. Abigail didn't kill them immediately upon arrival because she likes to play with her food. She says if they let her out, she will spare two of them. Frank suggests killing her, and an enraged Abigail changes her offer, proposing to save only the one who releases her. Peter quickly draws a gun, and Joey does the same while she and Frank explain that Abigail is lying. Since Peter still tries to free her, Joey shoots him. The group then leaves, except for Frank, who volunteers to stand guard. After everyone has left, Frank says he will release her if she tells him how to get out of the house. Abigail explains that he needs to find an Agatha Christie book in the library to open a secret door. Frank thanks her but refuses to release her. Therefore, Abigail easily breaks the door, pushing him, and dances towards him. At that moment, Joey appears and breaks wooden boards from a window, letting in sunlight. The light instantly burns Abigail's arm, and she runs into the shadows to regrow it. While Joey and Frank escape, the whole group reaches the library and remains in the sunlight streaming through the high window Joey had opened earlier. Nothing happens to Sammy, and she calms down, thinking she won't turn. Frank retrieves the book Abigail mentioned, but nothing happens because she lied again. While he has a meltdown, Joey unsuccessfully tries to break the wall. She runs out of candy and starts to panic. Joey explains to Sammy that she left her son to get clean and planned to use the money from this job to return to him and start over, like a reboot. Hearing this word, Sammy gets an idea. If they find the power source, she can short-circuit the logs. The team splits up and searches the house. Suddenly, Abigail plays music again and, due to the bite, takes control of Sammy. She quickly transforms into a vampire and attacks Peter, biting his neck. Abigail talks to him through Sammy as she continues feeding and cues him. Then Abigail has fun making Sammy dance like her. Eventually, Joey and Frank arrive, so Sammy hides her face. However, the others get suspicious, and Sammy reveals her transformation, prompting the duo to flee. Sammy chases them, and they reach the library, where Abigail, using Sammy's voice, explains that she hates this room because it's where her father turned her. Joey grabs a mirror and reflects sunlight onto Sammy, causing her body to explode. At this moment, a hidden door opens, and although Joey and Frank suspect a trap, they decide to go through it anyway. Following the corridor, they find the mansion's controller and Lambert, who is also a vampire. Lambert grabs Joey by the throat and explains everything. Abigail turned him to years ago when she discovered he helped Frank infiltrate the gang. She also threatened his family, and now he lures all her father's enemies here so she can play with them. He has already informed Laser about this situation, and he is heading to the mansion. Lambert wants to kill both Abigail and her father, so he offers to turn Frank if he promises to help. Frank agrees, and Lambert knocks Joey out and bites Frank. Then Lambert forces Frank to drink his blood, and Joey wakes up to see Frank painfully transforming into a vampire. Afterward, Lambert tells Frank to feast on Joey. Instead, Frank stakes him, causing Lambert to explode. At this moment, Abigail appears and tries to attack, but Frank overpowers her and drinks her blood. Joey seizes the chance to reach the control panel, deactivates the security measures, and retrieves her phone. But as she runs through the secret corridor, the exit is locked. While Frank finishes feeding on Abigail and dumps her body, Joey calls her son and leaves a heartfelt voicemail. Frank finds her and immediately shoves her back into the library, where he begins throwing her around, smashing her into furniture. Joey tries to defend herself, but her blows do nothing to the vampire. He grabs her by the neck and throws her down, but Abigail catches her just in time. Abigail explains she is too weak to defeat him alone and begs Joey to help her kill Frank, promising to let her go so she can see her son again if she does. Frank approaches them and the girls team up to fight him, but no matter how hard they try, he is clearly stronger than both of them combined. Knocking Abigail down, he stakes Joey's shoulder, pinning her to a post. He then returns to fighting Abigail and bites her again as the girl raises her pinky, reminding Joey of their promise. When Abigail falls, Frank pulls Joey off the stake and bites her neck before tossing her to the floor. When she regains consciousness, Frank uses his vampire abilities to compel her to pick up the stake and go after Abigail. However, Joey pretends to comply, then turns and shoves Frank, giving Abigail the opportunity to pounce on him. She fights him again, explaining that it takes time for full abilities to develop, so he cannot yet control or transform Joey. While they are distracted, Joey finds the stake and knocks Frank to the ground. Together with Abigail, they stake him, causing him to explode. Afterward, Joey worries that she might turn into a vampire, but Abigail reassures her that it won't happen because Frank is dead. As promised, Abigail releases Joey and tells her to find her son. Suddenly, someone grabs Joey's shoulder. It's Abigail's father, Laser, who says he has gone by many names over the years. He wants to kill Joey, but Abigail stands up for her, saying that Joey saved her life and was there when he wasn't. Laser kisses Joey's hand in gratitude and lets her go. Joey returns to the van and finds she still has a lollipop left. She eats it as she drives away. Subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments.